The St. Louis Cardinals shock the Milwaukee Brewers by taking not one, but two extra inning games in Milwaukee to win the series. Are the Brewers fans starting to get nervous ahead of the playoffs? We'll talk about it today on this crossover episode of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals and Brewers fans. I'm JD Haffron, and I am the host of Locked On Cardinals. Obviously, with me today, Chuck Freimund, host of Locked On Brewers. And together, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You can follow us on Twitter X. You can find us on YouTube. And we want you to come by and check out all the episodes if you like talking baseball. And at this point of the year, you know, Brewers headed to the playoffs. Cardinals still hanging on, man. We're not dead yet, but, this is the final month of the season. So if you're into baseball, man, keep it locked on. Locked On Brewers, Locked On Cardinals. We'll take you all the way to the finish line. This episode brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use that code, all lowercase, Locked On MLB, to win $50 instantly when you play $5. So, quite a series in Milwaukee, Chuck. The first game ends up being a blowout, although it was close for 6 innings. It was a close one. And then Jackson Churio says, I've had enough of you. Grand salami, ends at 9-3. And then we get 2 games. They go to extra innings on Tuesday. Kind of the marathon game of the series. They go to 12 innings, 7-4 win for the Cardinals. And then on Wednesday, they go to 10 innings, 3-2. Cardinals get the victory again. I'm kind of emotionally exhausted, but not so tired that I couldn't wear my ugly Cardinals Win the Series shirt. As you can see here, Chuck, what do you think about this shirt?
Well, you wear that when they win?
This is only when we win a series. Anything else is just kind of whatever. But this is the ugly old man shirt that I wear for when they win a series.
I like it. It's kind of silky, isn't it?
It is a little bit. It was one of their cheap promo giveaways at the stadium. And my mother and my 99-year-old grandmother, they each got them. And they're like, we can't wear these. They're both like tiny women, Chuck.
Okay.
They're very small. So they were like, they only give out XLs, as giveaways. They don't have different sizes for people. So they're like, here, you take it. And even though it's a little big on me, but it's loud and proud. And so I wear it when we take a series, and we take another one from the Milwaukee Brewers. This time we do it in Milwaukee. Chuck, how are we feeling about what just happened? Are you getting nervous? Because you told me that, the Brewers tend to fade a little bit. They go to the playoffs. They don't do so well. Are you starting to get nervous that it's happening all over again?
Well, I've been down this road probably 8 or 9 times, maybe 10 times, maybe 15 times where, the Brewers go through a little bit of offensive slide like we've seen the last 2 days where they can't hit. They just can't hit. And so I'm not really worried. The getting a 1 or 2 seed is starting to fade a little bit. Now, the division title, I think, is there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That's there. But I had hopes, maybe too big of hopes, of catching the Dodgers and the Phillies. Now the Brewers are like 4 games behind the Dodgers, 3 games behind the Phillies. And, I just feel like all 3 of these games were just especially the last 2, just grinded out on the edge of your seat type games that could have gone either way. The Brewers had chances in each of the last 2 nights to get the job done. I thought when Haas hit the home run in the 8th inning, I thought that was going to be the tipping point right there. That was going to push them over the top, because that often has.
It sure felt like it, didn't it?
And then when I saw my guy Kittredge on the mound, it's like, oh boy, ain't no way this guy's going to get in this game. Then he looked great against. He's pretty good against right-handers. I laugh because I don't. I think the way he pitches looked like we talked about, like my dad's throwing in the backyard to me. But the Cardinals, they're, with all due respect, they're an average baseball team, and the Brewers are a better than average baseball team who are playing great this year. I don't have any problem losing the 2 in a row. It's been done. They've dropped 2 of 3 to Washington and all that. And, the last the last 3 weeks, I think we've split a 6-game series, right? We won 2 there, and you guys won 2 here, right?
Well, actually,
no,
we beat you
no.
guys in St. Louis.
Right.
That's 2 straight series that we've taken from you guys. After obviously you guys, I think it was 1-7. The Cardinals were against you leading into those 2 final series of the season. But 4 out of the last 6 have actually gone to the Cardinals. I know we're forgettable, Chuck. I get that. Yeah, but we did win 4 of 6 in 2 straight series.
You did. You won that final game. I think it was like 3-0.
Yeah, and I shut out. It was a Miles Michaelis shut you out. How did that feel?
Miles Michaelis, who I feel like pitches every series against the Brewers, and he wasn't pitching today or this series. But yeah, I still feel good about the Brewers. I do. My episode yesterday on Locked On Brewers was it's hard to criticize these guys. It is. Yeah. They've been so good bouncing back, JD, throughout the season. I just feel like the last 2 or 3 weeks, man, they're playing at some grinders. 4 of the last 6 games have been extra inning games. So it's been like that for the last week or so.
That's it. That's exhausting, man. And you know what the toll that takes on your bullpen too, which is where it really gets you. I mean, that's how, coming to the end of the game on Wednesday night where we had for the Cardinals, Ryan Fernandez had to come in in a save situation because we'd already burned through Helsley and Liberatore the previous night on Tuesday, where they both had to throw 2 innings. And so they were unavailable. And so it was kind of like, all right, all we got left out here is Ryan Fernandez and his gorgeous mustache. Yeah. And we had Kyle Leahy. And it's like, I mean, we're at the end of the rope here. We got nothing left. Got a day off on Thursday. So it was like, all right, well, I mean, hopefully he steps up. And then that's exactly what happened on Wednesday night. Ryan Fernandez comes in and ends up taking care of business. How did you feel about the walking of Jackson Chourio? How maddening is that to know that they don't even give him a chance to try and win the game? I mean, brilliant for the Cardinals because I was like, I'm so sick of seeing this dude. It doesn't matter what he does. He splits his bat in 2. It still goes for a double. Like he's good and quite annoying to be playing against.
Well, and I was surprised they didn't walk Contreras, but they got him to strike out. That was another one. And then they walked Adames, and then they pitched to Garrett Mitchell on Wednesday night. But people on Twitter are asking me, how do we let Ali Marmol outmanage our guy Pat Murphy? Do you look at it that way?
I don't know if it was out managing. I mean, you were able to remove Brendan Donovan in that last inning, but a weapon that the Cardinals have now on their bench that they have not had all season has been Luken Baker, who's the big man who hit the RBI single to drive in the winning run in the 10th inning. A guy that's been down at AAA all season, even though the Cardinals have desperately needed a right-handed bat, somebody who can hit well against lefties off the bench. And for whatever reason, they just refused to bring him up all year. Finally, in the last couple of weeks, they're like, all right, they made some moves, got rid of Crawford, they DFA'd Pham, and they made a spot for Luken. And that's his job, is to be that guy off the bench who can hit left-handers because that's where they've struggled. And that's now 6 straight games that Luken has appeared in and played in that he's got an RBI. He's doing exactly what they've asked for. And it's been really nice on the Cardinals side of things to finally have somebody to go up against one of those left-handed pitchers, which is what they were trying to get to. I mean, technically he's still a rookie, so I wouldn't say out managing. I think Luken Baker just did his job. And, you went through Devin Williams, you had Piamps, and Luken Baker just came through in a spot. I mean, he's just a big rookie hitting under 200, has a good eye at the plate, has a couple of home runs, but I think you're willing to take your chances with him instead of going up against somebody like a Brendan Donovan who has been hitting very, very well.
Yeah, no question about it. And DFAing Tommy Pham, is that a case, JD, where, well, if you're in contention, you keep him, but maybe at this point, what good does it do to keep him on the roster when you're trying to, you're still trying to contend, but still, give some of the younger guys an opportunity.
I think they came to a gentleman's agreement where it's like, let's give Tommy a chance to latch onto a team that's going to the playoffs. That's what he wanted to do. Did his best while he was with the Cardinals, but the Cardinals are interested in what's going to happen in 2025. They're, again, not punting on the 2024 season. They're not waving a white flag, so to speak. But at the same time, they're like, we need to see some of the younger guys play. Okay. There's really no point in watching a 37-year-old outfielder. Yeah. We know what you are, Tommy Pham, and thank you for your services. But good luck. And it opened up a space for somebody like a Luken Baker to be able to stay on this roster with some of those guys coming back from injuries. Guys like Steven Matz were coming back and they needed roster spots. So it made sense. And so far, so good.
I really think this is the Brewers division to win over the next couple of years because they got some young guys and all that. I mean, as of right now. Now, other teams, you guys, the Cubs, I never counted the Pirates, but I'm going to. But you guys and the Cubs in particular, I look at, and Cincinnati too, how you get better in the offseason. Because right now the Brewers are the team to catch in the division because they're doing it with young guys, and these guys are going to get better. And we'll see how everybody else does in the offseason. If you guys go out there, have an amazing offseason, you're going to be right back into it.
We'll see. We don't really know what the direction is yet, but I do want to get to that. I want to talk about what the futures are for both our teams, because you got a guy who has 100 RBIs on your squad that doesn't appear to be coming back to Milwaukee next year. That's going to be a big hole for you. So I do want to get into that, and we'll discuss more about what has happened in the last couple of series between these two teams that, has made things sway towards the Cardinals and not the Brewers this time around after they dominated in the first 8 games of the whole season series. So we'll get more on that coming up next here on this crossover episode of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Brewers. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members, and it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' stat projections, and then you watch your winnings roll in. And if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win. Yeah, I'll repeat that for you. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It is a guarantee for you. And Chuck and I both being Packers fans, I know this isn't the coolest thing for us, but one of the perks here is that one Caleb Williams passing yard, Chicago Bears, #1 overall pick, one Caleb Williams passing yard to get you one win on PrizePicks every week in the month of September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks. It is gone when September ends. You can also play PrizePicks alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sugar Sean O'Malley. You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each and every week. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. Don't even need to win to receive $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Brewers your first listen every day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast hosted by Sully, who is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who's got you covered every single day on Locked On MLB, which is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Chuck Freimund from Locked On Brewers, JD Haffern from Locked On Cardinals. We're talking about the Cardinals and Brewers series. The beginning of the year, Brewers dominate, just crush the Cardinals in pretty much every way, shape, and form. Last 2 times we faced each other, things have been different. The Cardinals are able to win 4 of 6. Despite, even when I'm watching these games, do you feel like the Cardinals won these series, or do you feel like the Brewers lost them, Chuck?
Well, I can't take anything away from the Cardinals. I mean, they did what they had to do. They got big outs. The Brewers threatened a couple of times in the last 2 days, but jumping off the early lead with the 3 doubles in Tuesday night's game, and I just think that they battled. I think the Cardinals outgrinded the Brewers in these last 2 games. So now the Cardinals earned that. I'm not going to take any away from them. The Brewers right now, I feel like in the last 2 days, offense is hard to come by. with these guys. But, you just tip your hat to the Cardinals. I feel like, man, we've played the Cardinals 100 times this year. I can tell you that, but I'm glad the season's over with the Cardinals, and we'll see you guys next year, right?
Yeah, we will definitely see you next year unless something random happens to our franchises. We will definitely be in the same division. Is there something, if you're looking back at this particular series, okay, we don't need to go back all the way to the one that was in St. Louis most recently, but just looking at this one, is there something about this series that you come away with where you're like, this was a good thing that the Brewers did, and then give me something that you were kind of disappointed in?
Well, I was disappointed in the clutch hitting. All right. Haas comes up with a pinch hit home run in the 8th inning or the 7th inning, whatever it was. 8th inning. I lost my mind. Whatever it was. 7th, 8th inning, 8th inning it was. And tied the game, and they just could not get that extra base hit. But, and Colin Ray going just 4 innings for a second start in a row, thought that was a little disappointing as well. But it's hard for me, really, to throw darts at this team because they've been so good over the course of the season. And I can't be, I'm sure you're disappointed that they lost these last 2 games, but I can't get down on them. Now, if this happens in the postseason, well, then things change. If we do this in the postseason, then there's going to be some problems. But this team has been just so good this year. And with JD, with the Cardinals, credit to you guys. You technically are in it, but you guys fought these 2 games and got it done. Ollie got thrown out of Tuesday's game, and you guys fought a way to piece 2 games together in extra innings when you could have mailed these games in.
Chuck, it's becoming tradition for both Ollie and our bench coach Daniel Descalso to both get run in the same game. That's it. That's what happened on Mother's Day earlier in the season.
Both of those guys
which started the whole streak for the Cardinals, who went on for the next 6 weeks to have one of the best records in baseball. And it was about the same stuff. It was just, hey, it feels like the Brewers are getting calls that the Cardinals aren't getting calls.
Sure.
And the ump gets mad at the Cardinals guy, Daniel Descalso, for voicing his opinion, and starts almost a war of words with our dugout. And then Ollie has to come out to tell him, wait, stop, don't talk to him. Talk to me if you got a problem. Then everybody gets thrown out and everybody gets worked up. And it was almost like an exact repeat of what happened. It was bizarre watching it. I'm like, it's just a different umpire, but same idea, same result, same argument. Both of them going faced it like an old school chewing out session between them, like which you don't see a lot anymore. No. It was kind of crazy to me that it happened. And lo and behold, the Cardinals win the next 2 games. Like I don't know how to explain it.
Well, when I saw the game against the Yankees on Sunday, JD, and I'll put up 15 runs, and I'm like, oh boy, that's great. We're going to catch the Cardinals when they're rolling offensively.
Yeah. Well, that first game, they look tired in that first game, and I don't know, it was just coming from New York I don't know what, but they just kind of looked like they were going through the motions in that one. It just, they didn't feel like they were all there. Obviously the Brewers putting on a power display in that one. Actually, a lot of home runs there. We had 5 home runs hit in that one, and that's where all the runs came from for the Brewers. But I feel like, and let me know if this is something you agree with, I feel like the Cardinals, like, did they just show a blueprint of how to get past the Brewers without Christian Yelich in your lineup? Adames, Churio, I don't really fear anybody else in your lineup. Like watching it, like I just don't want to let those 2 guys beat me. The rest of them, I'll take my chances with a Sal Frelick. I'll take my chances with a Rhys Hoskins. Whoever else you guys got, you're throwing out there at the time. It's just Adames and Churio. Contreras is another one. Obviously, I don't want to forget him. But he didn't do all that much in this particular series. He's another weapon, though. But he's cooled off quite a bit since the first half of the season. But do you worry that that's kind of because they just started putting those guys on base? They were like, we're just not going to throw to Churio. And I thought that they might not throw to Adames in that second game on Tuesday when he ended up getting the clutch RBI single off Helsley. Base was open because me and you were texting about Wednesday night's game about not throwing to him again. Like, why would they throw to Contreras is what you asked me. And why would they do that? And I'm like, I'm not exactly sure with the base open, because I felt the same way about Adames. I was like, if there's a guy I'm not going to let beat me, it was going to be Adames. And, people online were like, well, he was 0 for 4 in that game up to that point and struck out 3 times. I'm like, I don't care. The dude has just gone 5 straight games with a home run. He's got 100 RBIs on the seat. Why are you throwing to this guy? And Sal Frelick is in that on deck circle.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? That's who you want to take your chances with. And it ended up burning them. They get the win anyway, but still, I thought that was kind of a bonehead decision. Ollie and Daniel Descalso thrown out by this point. So we were on our third guy to run things. So not sure if he had any input on that or at all or what, but it was just, it was kind of bizarre. But, if you maneuver around that lineup and you don't let those 2 guys beat you, are you guys nervous that you're not going to be able to put up the runs that you need to win in the postseason?
Yeah. I mean, I do look at this team and look at it and say, how are they 20 some odd games over the 500 mark? How are they got the 3rd best record in baseball beside ahead of the Dodgers and the Phillies? Yeah, you look at it, it's not a lineup that is going to scare you by any means. I throw Contreras again, those 3 guys. I think Contreras, Churio, and Adames into that mix. But the rest of the other 6 guys, no, they don't bother. But here's what the Brewers do. They do the little things. They'll double steal. They'll steal a base.
Sure.
They play such smart baseball. And you guys are accustomed to that. I mean, that's the Cardinals way. I mean, doing all the little things it takes to win a ball game. That's what the Brewers have been doing to compensate, because there's a very small margin of error with these guys. These guys got to do a lot of things right to win a game, because let's face it, it's not the most talented team in the world. You could look in the National League. There's teams better than them. Arizona might be better than them. Atlanta might be better than them. All right. I'm talking about teams below them in the standings. But somehow the Brewers got the 3rd best record in baseball, and they've limited their skids to 3 in a row. They've never had longer than a 3-game losing skid, and they just keep bouncing back and grinding. Now, the $1 million question, JD, can they do the same kind of ball? Can they play this same type of way in October, or are we going to be in one big letdown? If they're doing a lot of things right on this team, just got to carry that over to October. That's the big test right there.
Yeah. And when I'm watching these last 2 games that went to extra innings, almost at every point, I'm thinking, all right, here's where the Brewers are going to come through and get that big hit. This is what they do.
Sure.
And it just didn't happen this time around. And, like you said, you're hoping that doesn't happen when you move on into the postseason. But, I was just kind of, the more I started paying attention to it, the more I'm like, yeah, if you just pitch around those 2 guys, I don't know who scares you all that much other than Contreras in the lineup that you're so worried about. They're pesky hitters. They're annoying hitters, which is a compliment, because they just constantly are fouling balls off, and they're just making it really tough on the pitchers in general. But, that if I was on that side of things, that's what I would be worried about right now, that losing Yelich. Now I'm starting to see how big a deal that is when, especially with the 3 guys that are your big dudes. They're all right-handed, there's not a lot of thump from the left side. And I wonder if that's going to be a problem moving forward. It would be something I would be concerned about if I was on the Brewers side of things. Is there anything real quick on the Cardinals side of things that you saw that you were like, you know what, that kind of impressed me, or you were like, they got lucky on that one? Is there anything that stood out to you in the series?
Well, Goldschmidt just destroys the Brewers at AmFam Field. I mean, he comes to AmFam Field. He's been on a tear as of late anyway, even before getting here. And he does. So, he still, I think, is a at least when I see him, anytime I see him on TV, he does great things. But I think your team is, you got Helsley out of the bullpen. I love the fact that you guys used him for 2 innings.
Yeah.
Even though you had a 3-run lead on Tuesday, you brought him back for an extra innings. And I was like, why can't we ever do that? I know he only threw 14 or 15 pitches, but I love my closer in those extra innings coming back for another inning.
And apparently he asked for the ball, was like, I will finish this.
I love it. But no, I just think that you guys need a few pieces, some decisions to make. And, Arenado isn't what he's not the threat that the big
Bad
time
series. Yeah, that was a bad series. And you text me about it too. You're like, what's going on with him? And I'm like, honestly, he had a really good August. Like he was doing very, very well. Ends up with just one hit in the entire series. I think he went let me double check this, but I'm pretty sure, 1 for 13 in the series. He was kind of a ghost out there in this one, but you're dead on when it came to the Paul Goldschmidt stuff, who has been on fire over the last 11 games, really. Has another 11 game hitting streak now going on after Wednesday night's game. So he's been, and he almost got that the game winning hit earlier in the game. He hit a line shot there in that 10th inning that ended up carrying out to center field, but he smoked that ball too. So I'm glad you brought him up, Chuck, because I got a question about him. It's a big debate going on in St. Louis right now, whether or not you should or shouldn't have Paul Goldschmidt back on the St. Louis Cardinals team coming up in 2025. So I want to get your take on that and more about the future of the Milwaukee Brewers and what you're going to do about your big free agent, Willy Adames. We'll get into that next here on this crossover episode of Locked On Brewers and Locked On Cardinals. All right, who does not like to save money? I don't know anybody who doesn't like doing that. Everybody likes it. The more the merrier, right? And even though summer is almost gone, technically, I know we got past Labor Day, but we still got some time left this summer and plenty of time to stock up on all your grilling favorites and earn cash back on every single purchase when you use Ibotta. So you won't have to choose between the burgers, the hot dogs, the brats, which we know are a big deal in Milwaukee, for the big game. You can
be hungry.
Do what?
You're making me hungry, man.
I know, right? I cannot wait for this game on Friday night with the Packers. I'm excited, but I got the brats already waiting on me. And Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. You can earn on hundreds of items like groceries or, beauty supplies, toys for the kids. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year, and that could cover the cost of a major portion of your day to the ballpark, to Lambeau, to the stadium, to a flight that you've been eyeing up to go somewhere fun, or the fancy dinner that you've been craving. Chuck talking about being hungry. You can go get a fancy deal. Other apps give you points that don't really amount to much, which Ibotta says, we don't worry about that. You earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account. You can put it in your PayPal. You can put it on gift cards. All right. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and a whole lot more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. So go to the App Store or Google Play, download the free Ibotta app, start earning cash back. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB. All of that's pretty simple. That's Ibotta in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Brewers your first listen today. Now go check out Locked On MLB. That's the other podcast that you need to go to prepare for the Fall Classic. Sully's going to be all over it, covering every single day. You can find the link to Locked On MLB in the description. That way you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Chuck, this is the debate in St. Louis right now. 122 games this season. Paul Goldschmidt has been a well below average hitter. Not the guy that we've been used to, not the guy you saw in Arizona, not the guy you've seen for most of this time in St. Louis. Just a couple of years removed from an MVP. Now he's going to be a free agent. He's about to turn 37. First 122 games of this year, not good. Pretty for Paul Goldschmidt standards. I'm sure there's plenty of teams that would love to have a guy who up to that point had like 19 home runs and like 50 RBIs. They'd be okay with that. Not when you're paying this guy $26 million. It's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. And over the last 11 games, he's hitting, I know leading into this game, he was hitting over 500 in his last 10 games. Like his looked like the Paul Goldschmidt of old. He's made some adjustments and he's just seeing the ball better. He's taking it to the opposite fields. Balls in play, he was hitting like over 600 over the last 10 games. Like he's just hitting it where they ain't. And it's starting to make people go, well, maybe we should bring him back. Because I've been on the bandwagon of moving on from high-priced veteran talent. Like, I'm like, let's let's just move on. All right. We haven't won a lot with Paul Goldschmidt as far as like playoffs or no titles, nothing like that. Let's just move on. Let's make it a clean break and move on. Now people are wondering whether or not should we bring him back, but just kind of at a lower price, let him know that he's not going to be 162 games out there each and every day, that he's going to have to split some of his time with people. If you were in the Cardinals' shoes, would you be interested in something like that? Or do you think you would just cut ties and let Alec Burleson, Luke and Baker kind of take over the first base position? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a no-brainer. You can't bring him back. You just can't. You guys are the Cardinals are in a transition period right now. And it doesn't do you any good to bring back a 37, 38-year-old first baseman. Yeah, he got hot here in the last few. Even if you brought him back on a discount, you got to go and get yourself somebody else. He's not going to come back on a discount, but you got to get somebody else to play first base, whether it's one of those young guys or you make a trade or whatever. And you know what? If this was the NFL, I would cut Arenado tomorrow and unload that salary. I would. Like the NFL, JD, you can do that. Baseball, you got these guaranteed contracts. I do the same thing with Yelich. In Milwaukee. And I would do the same thing with Arenado. And I would do the same thing. Well, Goldschmidt's going to be a free agent anyway. But there's no way on a team that's in a transition like the Cardinals are that you bring him back.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
And it's tough because there's not a better guy in baseball than Paul Goldschmidt. You love what he's done for the team. You love him as a guy. He's worn it on his face in interviews of how tough this year has been for him. It's not something that he's gotten lazy. It's just, and what I say is that nobody beats Father Time. Eventually it will catch up with you. And it looks
but those guys, you and I never catches up to.
Yeah. And Arenado, and that's the unfortunate thing is like, when you put their contracts together and you think about what the plan might have been for the Cardinals, you have, like a 3-year gap between the contracts of Goldie and Nolan. You've got about a 3-4 year age difference as well going on there too. I'm trying to remember how old.
I would try to trade Arenado.
Yeah, he's 33.
I would try unloading him. I would try. There's got to be some sucker out there that would you could unload. Now, Cardinals fans is going to look at me and say I'm crazy, but I'm telling you, I would find a way to trade him.
That's the thing is like people don't think you're crazy. They just think it's hard for them to accept a move like that. And the other side of it too is Nolan Arenado's got to want to leave. He's got a no trade clause. So unless he approves a deal, and the other side of it too is you're trading him at a lower point. Like he's not going to get the return that you feel like you deserve. Obviously the contract itself and paying him as much money as he's getting, that's a bonus that you don't have to pay all that anymore.
Dumping was a bad habit.
Yeah, I feel like Arenado's safe. I think he's going to come back. I don't think they'll cut ties with him. I still don't think they cut with Goldie. I think they try to bring him back, whether it's the smart move or not, because you saw how they because they brought back Matt Carpenter. They brought back a Brandon Crawford who was at 37 and obviously a shell of what he used to be. They like these older veteran guys to still be around this team. And my thing is like, what's stopping another team from going, well, we'll take him and pay him and play him every day. So he could go somewhere else. Like he'd have to make the decision that like, I want to be in St. Louis so bad that I would take less money and less playing time. It just doesn't feel like something that if I'm Paul Goldschmidt, I would be willing to do. I'm going to take the most money and I want to play every day. Plus I would like to go to a team where I could have a chance to win a World Series, which, as you mentioned, transition period right now for the Cardinals. It doesn't look like they're going to be in the discussion for a World Series championship anytime soon. So I feel like he might be better off to take his talent somewhere else. And I brought up going back to Arizona with Christian Walker being a free agent over at first base, that maybe he just goes back to Arizona and plays for them on a like 1 year with a player option or a club option deal and goes back there where they might have a chance to win a World Series.
You guys could sign Josh Bell.
Josh Bell. No, see, we ain't going to sign nobody. That's the thing. It's like if Paul's gone, they're not going to sign anybody to replace him. It'll be Alec Burleson. It'll be Luke and Baker coming in. And it could be the combo over at first base. Real quick on your side of things, Willy Adames, you've told me before, no chance in hell that the Brewers are going to be able to afford him and sign him and bring him back. How do you guys fill that gap and hole, not only at shortstop, but in your lineup if he is gone?
Well, Ortiz, who's playing third base this year, he get moved over to shortstop. I think the plan was when they got him in the Corbett Burns trade all along, eventually, he was the heir apparent at shortstop. And if the Brewers were not in the pennant race, they would have traded Adames at the trading deadline. So we'll have a void at third base now, which seems like it's been a constant with this team. There'll be a void at third base. They either got to trade for somebody, sign a free agent, or whatever. But Adames is not going to be the guy. When I say sign a free agent, we'll sign a free agent who is not going to command as much money as Adames, who I think is going to get 20, 25 million. I'm telling you, I think he's going to the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's going to get a big, big payday from them. And the Brewers will have to look elsewhere. They might make a token offer to make it look good, like they've done to other guys, but he's not coming back.
So you're telling me you're in the market for a third baseman. I got a guy named Nolan Arenado. What would you give me?
Well, I don't want to take on that salary. If you'll pay that salary,
no, you got to take it all, buddy.
Take that salary. Well, I'll pay about $2 million a year of that salary. I'll take that. But no, I'm telling you what, you could offer me Nolan Arenado. I'm telling you this. You could say you could have him for free, but you got to take the salary. No, wouldn't do it.
Not interested.
No, because the Brewers couldn't make any other moves. No, not interested. Now, 5 years ago, I was mad because you guys got him, and I'm like, why weren't the Brewers involved in this? But not now.
It was a sneaky deal. Like, if there's one, I know our president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak, has caught a lot of flack for a lot of really bad things that he's done trade-wise. But that was one where did all right, Mo. And he got Colorado to pay for a lot of it, too.
Yeah, exactly. He got him to pay for. Now, is Ollie coming back? I'm sure that's been a debate.
It's been a debate. The talk of the town right now is because John Mozeliak is going to be back, that Ollie will be back as well. He got the extension, so it'll be at least another year.
Okay.
And my thing is like, I don't put as much blame on Ollie as a lot of people do. Some people just don't like him. Mm-hmm. Some people feel like he's just a puppet for John Mozeliak. He can only do with what he's been given on the field. I mean, if the players don't come through in the situations, all he can do is set them up to be in the right spot at the right time. And if, Goldschmidt and Nato and whoever else he puts up there don't come through, I don't know how that's his fault. Like, he didn't put the team together. He just works with what he can. And right now they're a couple of games over 500. Last year was terrible. They only won 71 games last year. And, here we are. And they are tied for how many wins they had last year already. So there was an improvement, and I think it's up to the guys ahead of them in the front office to put together a competent team. Quit going, dumpster diving for pitchers to put in like a Lance Lynn. Stop doing that. Go get real dudes or develop real dudes in your organization and bring them up. And that's been a problem for them too, is that they haven't developed pitchers the way that they used to. Now they've got a couple of guys that are starting to make some waves down in the minor leagues. So I don't know if they'll be ready by the time next year rolls around, but that's kind of where they're at. It's like you said, it's a transition stage where you're starting to phase out some of these guys and you're handing the keys to the car over to some of the youth. And you saw it in this series against the Brewers. You saw some of these youthful guys come through. And it's been kind of refreshing. I'm curious to see what the crowds will be like this weekend at Busch Stadium against the Seattle Mariners. Now that they have been able to win 2 series against the Brewers, they beat the Twins, they beat the Yankees, they split with the Padres in 4 games, so they haven't lost a series in a while. They've been playing a lot better baseball, so I wonder if any fans will be like, you know what, I'll come out, I'll give them another chance, because they've had some not so good crowds at Busch Stadium recently.
Well, you're up against football too. I don't know how that is in St. Louis, but that's a baseball.
We don't have a team, Chuck. They hightailed it to LA. They stole the team.
People aren't getting excited about the Missouri Tigers, and
they are, but like it's not like an NFL team being in the city. You still got to drive 2 hours to get to Columbia in the middle of Missouri to go watch Mizzou. So
okay, I get it. We got to do that for Madison, for Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Here, so we got to drive about an hour from where.
I gotcha. So what's on tap for the Brewers next? What you got schedule wise?
Got Colorado this weekend. A 5:00 Central Time start on Friday because of the Packer game. We moved the starting time to 5:00, and then 2 more games. Got to take 2 or 3 from these guys. The Phillies are going to be here a week from Monday, so that'll be interesting. If the Brewers are within range of trying to get that top or second seed in the National League, which I thought was doable until the last couple of days.
Yeah, the Cardinals have been kind of been spoilers for people recently. They're like the Yankees were all sad after we left town there. The Twins didn't feel great about themselves after we left town. So it's been kind of a thing that they're doing right now, and they're still hanging around in that third wild card spot. It's not likely, but they're giving it a go, and I think they've won 10 out of their last 16. So that's progress. That's progress, and that's what we're looking for. All right, we're going to wrap things up. Chuck, appreciate you doing this crossover as always. Always great to talk to you. Go Pack, go, my friend. I hope they pull it off on Friday.
I hope you guys have a healthy off season, but in the front office, I hope you guys you re-sign Goldschmidt, you give Nolan Arenado a contract extension, and you guys trade for some aging pitchers and keep Ollie. He's doing a good job. How about that?
God, is that John Mozeliak over there? I'm having trouble. Is that you, John? Is that Mo?
Mr. Talks in the offseason. Well, we got to touch base in the offseason.
We definitely will, and I'm sure we'll be keeping an eye. If you want to chat during the playoff run for the Brewers, I'm sure we'll have a chance to do that. So everybody like, subscribe on YouTube for Chuck at Locked On Brewers, as well as with me at Locked On Cardinals. We love you and appreciate all of you, and we will talk soon here on the Locked On Podcast Network.